Hi, my name is Marcia Stromgren, and you've tuned in to Just the Facts. I have a guest in the studio today. His name is Jeff Dotseth, and he is running for House District 11A in the Carlton area. Nice to see you here, Jeff.
Nice to meet you, Marcia. Yeah, thanks for the opportunity to be here today. Thank you.
Thanks for coming in. Jeff, I'd like you to first of all tell the people the district that you're running in, why are you running, and some of your background.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I'm Jeff Dotseth. I'm running to be your next state representative, which actually consists of all of Carlton County, northern Pine County, southern St. Louis, which actually consists of Brevoort Township, um,
Culver?
Culver, Arrowhead, as well as Stony Brook. And I think we find that we've got a lot of things in common here that affect actually our community here in St. Louis County. We've got a lot of important issues at hand. My wife and I actually live in rural Carlton County. We actually live on the family farm, which actually I purchased from my family a number of years ago, as well as having my parents living across the road. I'm actually a small business owner, a farmer, and I'm actually in the real estate industry. And I think you'll find that I'm a father, I'm a grandfather, and I love our community. I love our way of life, and I think that's what's important is preserving and protecting our way of life.
So, Jeff, what is it that challenged you to think about running?
That's a great question, Marcy. Just look out in front of you. You start look at these skyrocketing gas prices. You start looking at this out of control inflation. It starts driving you. It's who's in control? We need someone that's going to actually. We need real leadership for our way of life and protecting our community. I think I just sat and watched local politics. And rather than sitting back and, I'll just say, complain about, griping about it, it's time to get involved. And that's what really drove me. And it's not about me. It's about my children, my grandchildren, and what's in the future for them. Because, to be honest with you, 40 years from now, 50 years from now, it's not going to be my concern. It's going to be our children's concern.
Right. Those are good reasons for running. Would you like to tell the people how to learn more about you, and then we'll go into some of the issues that you are interested in?
Sure. I'd encourage you to reach out to my website, www.dotsethmn.com, www.dotsethmn.com. There you can learn all about me, and actually if you have any concerns, any issues, even if we may disagree, reach out to me. I am open to hearing and listening to your issues and concerns. That's what you find is I'm an approachable candidate. I'm not shut down to having logic and getting the facts and actually listening to where the opposition is coming from as well. Our Facebook link is on there as well, so I encourage you to link onto our political Facebook page as well.
And what is that?
That is Jeff Dotseth for State Representative MN.
Okay. Yeah. So you have given me some issues that you want to talk about. Let's start with inflation.
Sure. Well, I don't know if anyone's gone to the grocery store lately or put gas in their car.
How can you help not go?
Who would have thought that we'd be experiencing this in America and in Minnesota? We've got local farms, we've got local production here, and it seems like it appears that there's to be more handcuffing going on small businesses and being able to own and operate our businesses the way we feel so fit. There's been an overstep, my opinion, there's been an overstep of government rules and regulations. That's really, I think we've seen that in the last few years. I think it really made it extremely transparent to what was actually taking place there. And when we've got small businesses being shut down that know how to run and operate safe businesses. We've got supply chains that are being limited as far as being able to, I just went to buy a piece of farm equipment because I also farm as well, to get a piece of farm equipment or part for a tractor. Impossible. This is 2 months out to get this part. So they're having to direct you over to get a different piece of equipment just to continue operation till that part comes in. Who would have ever thought that here in our great state of Minnesota?
Well, I never thought about that, but I've been waiting for some windows that were ordered early in the year, and I was originally told they're coming in July.
Yeah.
We might get them in September.
And Marcia, let me ask you this. Have you seen a price increase on those windows?
Well, yes, but I'm not going to speak to that simply because
Right.
It's my husband that ordered it. But I can tell you the cost of food Yeah, a carton of coconut yogurt, I used to pay $5.69. It's $8.69. Uh, Meat and other vegetables and food in the grocery store, every time I go in, there's been a price increase. So I can speak to that. And of course, my gas, I can speak to that. So, yeah, I know that there's a problem with the supply chain, but I don't know what the cost was
Sure.
on those windows. I just know it's going to be expensive.
And Marcy, what's interesting is as I'm outdoor knocking, meeting the people in our community, I'm literally having people come in tears. I explain the issues that are at hand where they can't put gas in their car because they may commute in rural Carlton County if they're commuting to Duluth. That adds up in a week. Go a month, go a year. Now all of a sudden, I just had the morning news on there saying, well, there's been a decrease. Well, what do? They raise it this much and give us this much? That's political ploy, and I'm tired of that.
I don't
Yeah,
disagree with you. I don't
Yep.
disagree with you. So, economy.
Well, I think
What do you mean by that?
You know, I was just at a meeting yesterday with some individuals that are in the, number one is I should say that I'm honored to actually have the 49ers endorsement, the Carpenters Union endorsement, Pipe Fitters endorsement, which is rare for an individual of my persuasion, my party. But you'll find that I'm actually for good paying jobs in our community. And I'm self-employed individual, so I get it. I've lived it, and I understand the importance of a strong, healthy community. Good infrastructure, good jobs. That's a heartbeat right here. When we start seeing, okay, I just had a conversation with a gentleman, a business owner. And he said, Jeff, he said, I can't successfully run my business in this community because of this, and this, over-regulation, extra permit fees, et cetera, et cetera. We go down the list. He's being forced to go out of our community and do his primary operation elsewhere. Why is that? Why aren't we bringing it back home in our backyard?
Well, and did he mention that he isn't able to hire anybody because nobody's applying for a job?
Every business owner I'm experiencing that I'm talking to is actually explaining that. They can't find employees, and then the retention, once they do get the employees, they can't afford it. I mean, they're being outpriced as far as being able to, once they find these great employees, it making it extremely challenging right now, Marcy.
And when we talk about the economy, Jeff, with all the prices going up, it goes back to the business owner. And so then where does he cut when he needs to run his business at a reasonable cost and a reasonable profit? If the government is telling you, well, you got to pay them $15 an hour, but then all of the prices and everything are going up for what he purchases to run his business. So we're talking about that whole issue of economy being really too much government control, but also the rising cost of everything, which has been caused by big government.
Yes.
As far as I'm concerned, that's what's driving this whole picture of what our economy is going into, which is a deep dive.
Marcy, I think you'll find that I'm actually the representative that's actually running on less government. We've got too much government overreach right now, and that's what's affected and crippled so many of us. I'm a consumer as well, buying products on the street. I recently did a remodel job on one of my properties as well, and actually I experienced the same thing where you start seeing these rising types of prices. It gets to the point where I ended up having to stop a project just because I could no longer afford to continue doing that project to make it economically profitable. And what happens is it gets passed on to the consumer.
Exactly.
And that's the best kept secret out there that they don't tell you is it's actually getting passed right back on to us. And enough is enough.
Well, and I look at the increase in our surplus. How did we get a $9 billion plus surplus here in the state of Minnesota when the governor had us shut down for, a year and a half? And yet we collected all of these taxes.
Yeah.
So it's also overtaxing the consumer because the government is getting bigger, so they have to have more money to run it, and it's this catch-22 situation.
Marcy, don't get me on taxes. I'm assuming you're actually at retirement age, correct?
I don't think we'll ever retire, but
Well,
I'm past it.
when
I'm
I say
actually
collecting
past
Social
it.
Security,
Yeah.
what we find is why are we one of the few states that are still collecting Social Security tax on our retirees?
On Minnesota, yeah, Minnesota is collecting my taxes on my Social Security. Yeah, that's another one.
How many retirees have you seen that you may know, that I know, that have actually chosen to have residency out of state?
Mhm.
They love Minnesota. They love to spend time here in Minnesota. However, their primary residency is elsewhere. How much more retention of monies could we keep here in our community just by having them have residency right here in Minnesota?
Mm-hmm.
We got to look at it differently, and that's what has to happen is quit playing politics. We have to start getting back to actually common sense and representing the people that are in our community.
Well, you can't quit playing politics when you've got dictators downstate. So
We can agree on that,
We
yes.
don't need to go any further on that one, do we? Education.
Well, I think it's been very clear in the last 2 years. One good thing I guess I can say that came out of the COVID process is it really shed a light on parent involvement, actually getting in and actually seeing what was being shared with their children, what more transparency, I guess is what I want to say. And I think we've got great teachers in our community that are passionate about what they do, great educators. And I think we're seeing that the more parental involvement needs to be required. We need to help pass that involvement and encourage that involvement for the parents to be involved in the process. I'll go one step further. Is we've actually I've seen some discussions about even scholarships to help uh, kids get into more private schools, different options as well that are out there. I think looking at some of those, we need to lay everything on the table, working with education, working with people that may have concerns about the education process, the homeschooling, the private schools, and getting everyone at a table and actually sitting down and having those hard discussions. I think that's something you'll find myself as a representative is my goal is to bring everyone together and actually sit down and actually have honest dialogue and not just chatter that's out there where everyone's pointing fingers. Let's sit down, and we're not Minneapolis, we're not St. Paul. You know, we're St. Louis County, Cook County, Carlton County, Pine County. We're greater Minnesota, and it's a whole different way of life than the metro. And having the money come back in our community is extremely important to me. And I think that's been something that's been overlooked for a long time.
Well, you know, Jeff, when I monitored the 709 school district for about 11 years or so, I was absolutely astounded how much money we get per pupil from the state. And of course, it's increased since then. However, along with that money comes stipulations on what you're going to do with it. First of all, the federal government should never be dictating to the states. The states should take back that right on how they're going to run their school districts per state. It used to be that way before Jimmy Carter came into the presidency. So, with the tie-in to the federal government, if you don't do it this way or you don't do it this way, they can threaten you to take away that funding. So, okay, so then the money goes to the state of Minnesota, and they are doing the same kind of threatening if you don't implement this procedure or that procedure. And during the Republican gubernatorial stint of Pawlenty, he brought in Common Core. Whether you know anything about Common Core or not, it is a absolutely despicable way to educate children. They get more confused by trying to do the problems, and the parents can't help them because they've never seen anything like this before. So, education. How can we get back the control in the state and in the districts so that teachers can do their job instead of pandering to a cardboard, I should say not cardboard, cutout from federal government, Common Core. We need good programs. We've got good teachers, but we have lousy programs, and these kids are not learning.
Well, Marcia, I think it starts with local control. Getting it back in the local control of our community, our teachers, because our teachers knows what's best for our children.
Right.
And that's where it's been lost right there. And I don't have a magic pill, so I'm not going to come in and say that this is the best way to get there, but I think we need to start coming back and actually having that dialogue and saying, we want the local control back in our community. And that's where it starts right there. It's getting local control right here in our backyard.
And I couldn't agree more. Okay, crime. Um, have you seen an increase in crime in your rural community?
You know, Marcy, funny you mentioned that. Just walking in to the studio here, uh, here in rural Duluth, or right in Duluth here, downtown Duluth, it was shocking to just see an individual right in the street that was dealing with some, he was tweaking out right on the street. And that was concerning to sit and see that right out in the parking lot out there, where this is what's happening right in our backyard.
He was doing,
He was having some symptoms from drugs, is what he was having.
okay.
It,
Some
it,
people might not understand what you
I'm
meant,
sorry, I
but
apologize.
yeah. So you recognize that?
You can recognize that, and you realize that this is a normal occurrence in our community. I think we're seeing the crime. People say, well, it's just a metro issue, or it's just a Duluth issue. No, it's a community issue all across our state because it's transferring over. When we put criminals in jail and they're out the next day and there's no consequences, there has to be consequences. And the individual that was that I seen on the street, that I seen that there was someone actually assisting him and helping him. However, you see that there's actually a medical, I'll just say mental illness as well, is what came off of some of this crime. And I think that's what's trickling into our society as well, is looking at and identifying medical, mental, and criminal. Because there is a separation there that we got to look at and work with and make sure that they're getting proper treatment and making sure that criminals are getting the proper, just locally, I was talking to some individuals at the local prison where we've actually got a program that actually works to help train individuals to get back out into society where they actually have a skill. That's what we need to focus on, is helping get them prepared to be back in society in the right manner. We don't want, I'm tired of having them in the system, but follow the money. This is what I'm tired of, is it's the money that's being made off of these people going through the system instead of curing the problem. That's what it begins at right there, Marcy.
Well, and what we see now in Duluth is panhandling, which was made legal by this current administration. And that's leading to crime because these people, if you won't give them any money, they attack you. And I know somebody personally whose sister was attacked right down here by the public library, broad daylight. You aren't perhaps seeing that in the rural area where you live, but have you seen an increase in different kinds of crime out there in your area?
We are. I think we're seeing a lot of concerns about just theft. That's actually trickling into our community, and it's. I shouldn't say it's not even necessarily local people. It's people driving through our community, or they know that this is the target. This is an area that they can come to, and it's. I shouldn't say it's easy prey, but a lot of times the people are gone for the day. They're working. Firsthand, I experienced that. I actually had an individual. I was sitting in my shed one morning, and I had some gentlemen come pulling up. I had my gate at the end of the driveway closed, so it looked like no one was home, but I was home. And they come walking in. They had a trailer. They were actually definitely not from the community. They were looking to actually do some wrong. And I explained to them that it might be best that they just leave politely. And they kept explaining that they were just looking for someone's home. Well, the gate was closed. There was no reason to be there. But what they did is that, my opinion is, they were actually looking to maybe do something that was inappropriate at that time. But I think that's a common occurrence. I've got certain parts of our community that have been more targets in the area. I've actually had the opportunity to do ride-alongs with local law enforcement, and that was extremely enlightening. And that actually helped bring more enlightenment to me more than ever that I wasn't aware of. And that's why I encourage even constituents that live out in our area, get involved, look at the crime, and actually talk to your local law enforcement. We've got great law enforcement that are representing us in our area. And that's what we've got to do. We've got to get behind our law enforcement and stand behind them, because their job is difficult. I mean, they want to do, 99% of them want to do the right thing. And we got to stick behind our good law enforcement.
Well, we covered pretty much your topics. So
this went by quick.
It does, but we still have a few minutes. So are there any other issues, Jeff, that you have not covered that you would like to address our audience?
You know, I think there's a lot of real issues. As I'm out there visiting with our community, I'm hearing real issues at the door. I mean, I'm hearing all the way from local issues to statewide issues. I think people just want to be left alone, be able to live their life and have less government involvement, and be able to just navigate through life. My goal would be to work ourselves out of a job. Wouldn't that be nice if a politician could actually work himself out of a job and not have a necessity to have us involved?
I've not heard that one before.
You've heard it now.
Yeah.
That'd be a wishful dream, but I think what has to happen is that has to be our focus is to try to have less government, less involvement, and give it back to the residents, give it back to the people that we represent, and let them make the decisions. I go into farming. As a farmer, I think we just want to. Most farmers know what's best for them and know how to manage their farm and do a good job. That's their investment. I don't know about you, but when you've got an investment, you're going to make sure that you're doing things the right way because you want to preserve it. Most people want to do that. You go into mining. We've got such rich resources in our back door, in our community. I believe that there's a safe way to do it, and if people haven't done it yet, go up and, if you feel opposed to it, go up and actually meet with those facilities and actually do a tour. Get an idea of what it consists of. But I think that you'll find that they're trying to do it safe. I'd rather have it in our backyard rather than a third world country that's not going through all the proper channels to do safe mining. And I think we've got people that are capable of doing that, Marcy.
Well, when you talk about mining, a fellow in our church was telling me that the iron ore that's being mined is no longer being shipped to plants in America. It's going to China. What's your thoughts on, okay, so we have a lot of minerals and we have a lot of resources on the range. However, It's been all shut down for the most part, and because of federal interference. So what's your thoughts on this? We are sending a lot of our, not just from Minnesota, resources to China, and they're coming in and they're buying up businesses. They own Fleet Farm. Yeah. They own Cirrus. That's just in our community. And they're buying up farmland because they're getting rich on us. And we're sending raw resources over there, our wheat and all this type of stuff. That's not exactly a state issue. However, I think there should be a voice in the state of Minnesota saying, let's get a better handle on this type of stuff because it is impacting everybody in the state of Minnesota.
Marcy, it's not just a national issue, it's a local issue. Let's be honest about that. That actually is affecting our way of life right there. It's forcing, we put such restrictions on our business owners, but yet you've got foreign countries coming in and taking control over our industries. So I think that's something that we definitely have to address. I'll go one step further. Most people don't realize we are a border state. You look at borders. A lot of people say, well, that's a federal issue. No, just to the north there, we've got a border. I just had a conversation yesterday with a gentleman that actually shared that there were, I believe it was 4, maybe 5 individuals that came across the border that they can't find right now. Do people realize that when they transport them across the border, it's cheaper for them to bring them through the northern end versus the southern end? Oh. How come we aren't having these discussions here at the state level? Because these are real issues that do affect our way of life. So I think that we have to keep that in consideration as well. So there's a lot of real issues, but I think sitting down, listening to all sides, and actually coming up with solutions. I'm not one that's going to point fingers and look at all the bad. Let's come up with a solution. Let's figure out how we can solve the problem and actually get something accomplished and get something done. Because you know what? I don't have all the answers. I'm going to admit that right now. But you know what? I know how to help get the solution and get things done and get them done properly.
Well, your experience is what is going to propel you forward should you be elected so that your voice can be heard and then people can think about some of those solutions. That's what, to me, government's all about. And I sit on an elected position, and so I'm not agreed with for the most part, but I'm not afraid to say what I think needs to be said. And that is one way that other people start thinking, well, maybe this is an idea we should look into. That's what it should be. It shouldn't be this aisle stays on this side and that aisle, they stay on that side, and they just clash when it comes to voting because they want their way. They don't want to bend. They don't want to look at what the benefits are for the constituents that stuck them into office. What they're looking for is their power. and they keep their power and keep on keeping on their
Well,
power.
Marcia, I think you bring up a very valid point. Sometimes I'm going to have to swallow some hard pills that may not be things I agree with 100%, but it's what's best for our community and our constituents in our area, where I'm hearing, different issues and different. What's amazing is I'm across different pockets of our community. There's different issues throughout the community as well.
Sure.
And you can hear, well, they have this issue. The area's got this issue because we got north, south, east, west. But at the end of the day, we've got to look at what's best for all of us in our community. And I think that you'll find that I'll be the right representative for covering those type of issues.
Well, Jeff, this has been fun. It's been real
Thank
quick.
you. Yeah,
but what
really
I want
quick.
to do now, for the last couple minutes that we have, is I want you to tell again how people can get in touch with you, what district you're running for, and any other quick comment that you'd like to add.
Again, Marcy, thank you for the opportunity to be here as well today. I'm Jeff Dotseth. I'm running to be your next state representative, which consists of all of Carlton County, Northern Pines, Southern St. Louis. And I just ask that you check out my website at www.dotsethmn.com. Click onto my links and actually go deep into my website and actually check out who I am and what I'm about, and reach out to me. If you have any issues and concerns, or even if you have any successes, I'd love to hear about them. And I think you'll find that I'm the common sense candidate that's looking to preserve and protect truly our way of life, Marcy. Enough is enough. That's all I can say.
And when is the election, Jeff?
This November.
The date?
November 8th.
November 8th. So, folks, you need to think carefully about who represents you. You need to think carefully, not whether you're a Democrat or Republican. You need to think about how government is affecting you, how it is growing way past what it ever should have been like. I mean, this is not what our forefathers envisioned it to be, overreaching everything you do. So you need to vote. You need to get out and vote on November 8th. And vote smart. Not what you think that candidate's all about, but what you actually hear them say they plan to do when they're elected. Thanks for tuning in and have a great day.
Thank you.